statement, and I give the floor to the representative of the European Union.
Thank you for giving me the floor. I'm honored to address the Council today on behalf of the High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Mrs. Kaja Kallas. I would like to thank Secretary General Antonio Guterres, USG Di Carlo, and the rest of the Secretariat for their work related to the implementation of Resolution 2231, as well as Slovenia for their efforts in carrying out the role of the facilitator of Resolution 2231. We take note of the 20th report of the Secretary General on the implementation of Resolution 2231. Mr. President, this session takes place in the context of the reinstatement by this Council of its resolutions in force prior to the JCPOA, and thus of all nuclear-related UN sanctions and restrictions on Iran. This followed the invoking of the snapback mechanism by France, Germany, and the UK, who notified the Security Council on the 28th of August of Iran's significant non-compliance with its commitments under the JCPOA. There should be no doubts on the validity of this process and on the obligation for all UN member states to fully implement the reinstated resolutions. However, the snapback of sanctions and nuclear restrictions must not be the end of diplomacy, quite the opposite. The European Union and its member states are convinced that a lasting solution to the Iranian nuclear issue can only be achieved through diplomacy. To this end, the European Union remains determined to continue to engage with all parties to find a negotiated and sustainable solution to the issue, in line with the reinstated Security Council resolutions. Mr. President, for the past 10 years, the JCPOA and Council Resolution 2231 established a framework that not only aimed to ensure that the Iranian program remains exclusively peaceful, but also put in place an effective monitoring and verification system conducted by the IAEA. The JCPOA represented a key contribution to the global nuclear non-proliferation architecture, as well as an achievement of multilateralism and nuclear diplomacy. Amid increasing challenges, the successive EU High Representatives have spared no effort to preserve this framework in the interest of international peace and security. High Representative Kaja Kallas has pursued intense diplomatic contacts, including during the 30-day timeframe foreseen in the snapback process, to avoid the situation we are currently facing. We welcome the efforts of a number of other states aiming to facilitate diplomacy. Ensuring that Iran does not acquire or develop a nuclear weapon remains a key security priority for the EU and all its member states, as it is for the entire international community. The EU reiterates its full support for the impartial role of the IAEA and for its Director General in their critical work to uphold the implementation of safeguards, nuclear safety and security, and to provide clarity on Iran's nuclear program. In November, IAEA DG Grossi reported that the agency had lost continuity of knowledge in relation to the previously declared inventories of nuclear material in Iran, including low and highly enriched uranium. Iran's implementation of its safeguards agreement cannot be suspended under any circumstances, and this situation is very concerning. The European Union calls on Iran to return to full compliance with its legal obligations under the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons and its binding comprehensive safeguards agreement. It is critical and urgent that Iran provide the IAEA with up-to-date and verifiable declarations on the quantity and whereabouts of nuclear